Hello friends, in today's session we are going to continue with the basic rules of subject-verb agreement. Yesterday you did many rules of the subject-verb agreement, didn't you? So today we'll continue with these rules because there are more rules. We'll also practice these rules within a few exercises so that you can understand your concepts much better. And towards the end, we'll recap the session as we always do. So let's look at some more basic rules for the subject-verb agreement. Sometimes nouns take a weird form and they can fool us into thinking that they are plural, whereas in reality they are really singular, and vice versa. Now words such as glasses, pants, pliers and scissors are regarded as plural and they require plural verbs. There is one exception. In case they are preceded with the word pair of, then the subject becomes singular. Therefore, if you're saying a pair of glasses, the subject is singular. But if you're saying glasses, then the subject is, that's right, it's plural in that case. Let's look at some examples. My glasses were on the bed. So my glasses means the subject is plural. Therefore, we've used were. Let's look at another example now. My pants were torn. Pants is correct, it's a plural subject. Therefore, we'll use plural verb, were. But in the example, a pair of trousers is in the closet. What do you think the subject is? That's right, the subject is singular. Therefore, we've used is and not are. Another rule is that some words end in S and they appear to be plural but are really singular and they require singular verbs. For example, the news from the front is bad. So what is the subject here? Correct, it's the news, and the word news is really singular. Therefore, it will take up the verb is. Let's look at another example now. Measles is a dangerous disease for pregnant women. Measles is a dangerous disease for pregnant women. So what's the subject here? Yes, it's the word measles. And although the word measles ends with an S, but it's really singular and will take up the verb is. On the other hand, some words which end in S refer to a single thing, but are nonetheless plural, and therefore they require a plural verb. For example, the average worker's earnings have gone up dramatically. The average worker's earnings have gone up dramatically. Here, what are we talking about? We're talking about the earnings, and the earnings will be treated as plural. Therefore, we use the verb have. Let's see another example now. Our thanks go to the workers who supported the union. Our thanks go to the workers who supported the union. Who are we talking about? We're talking about the workers, and workers will be a plural subject. Therefore, we'll use a plural verb. The next example is, our thanks go to all the workers. So what are we talking about? We're talking about thanks. Therefore, since thanks is a plural word, we'll use a plural verb, go. We can't say our thanks goes to all the workers, can we? That would be wrong. The next rule is fractional expressions such as half of, a part of, a percentage of, a majority of are sometimes singular and at times plural, depending on the meaning. For example, we may say a large percentage of people are not happy with their jobs. On the other hand, when we say 40% of this paper, we need to use the verb is made of recycled material. So can you see how with percentage we could either use a plural verb depending on what we are talking about, or we could use a singular verb in case the subject is singular. Sums and products of mathematical processes are expressed as singular, and they require singular verbs. The expression more than one takes a singular verb. Let's look at some examples. More than one student has tried this. Since more than one has been used, we've taken up a singular verb. Some of the voters are still angry. A large percentage of the older population is voting against her. So here we've used the word percentage and we're talking about a large percentage. Therefore, we'll use the verb is. 2/5 of the troops were lost in the battle. Since it's a fraction, we will look at what the fraction is referring to. The fraction is referring to the troops. Therefore, we'll use a plural verb, were. 40% of the students are in favor of the changing of the policy. 40% of the student body is in favor of changing the policy. So when we say students and we refer to a percentage of the students, we use a plural verb are. But when we refer to 40% of the student body, we take up is as the verb. Next example is 2 and 2 is 4. 4 times 4 divided by 2 is 8. Now in both these sentences, there are mathematical processes which are happening. Therefore, the subject will be considered to be correct. It will be considered to be singular. Let's look at the next rule now. If your sentence compounds a positive and a negative subject, and one of them is plural, the other is singular, then the verb should agree with the positive subject. Let's look at an example. The department members, but not the chairman, have decided not to teach on Valentine's Day. Now here, the positive subject is the department members and the negative one is not the chairman. So which one will decide the verb? The positive subject, the department members. Therefore, we've used the verb have. Let's look at another example. It's not the faculty members but the president who decides this issue. Now in this sentence, what is the positive subject? The positive subject is the president and the negative subject is the not the faculty members. Therefore, president is a singular subject which will take up a singular verb, decides. Let's look at the next example. It was the speaker, not his ideas, that has provoked the students to riot. What's the positive subject here? Correct, the speaker, and the negative subject is? Right, not his ideas. Therefore, we pick the verb according to the positive subject, the speaker, and we've used has in this case. Now that you've learned these concepts, let's try and practice them within a few exercises. What you have to do is open your workbooks and look at this exercise. You have a few sentences with blanks and you have to choose the correct option out of the answers that are given. The first sentence is, either the physicians in this hospital or the chief administrator dash going to have to make a decision. And your options for the answer are is or are. I'll repeat the sentence. Either the physicians in this hospital or the chief administrator dash going to have to make a decision? Is it is going to have to make a decision, or is it are going to have to make a decision? Let's look at the next sentence now. Dash my boss or my sisters in the union going to win this election? The options are is or are. I'll repeat the sentence. Dash my boss or my sisters in the union going to win this grievance? Sentence 3. Some of the votes dash to have been miscounted. Seem or seems? Some of the votes dash to have been miscounted. Seem or will it be seems? The tornadoes that tear through this country every spring dash more than just a nuisance. Are more than just a nuisance, or is it is more than just a nuisance? Listen again. The tornadoes that tear through this country every spring dash more than just a nuisance. Are or is? Sentence 5. Everyone selected to serve on this jury dash to be willing to give a lot of time. Is it have or is it has? I'll repeat the sentence. Everyone selected to serve on this jury dash to be willing to give a lot of time. Have or has? Sentence 6. Kamal, together with her teammates, dash a formidable opponent on the basketball court. Is it presents or present? Kamal, together with her teammates, dash a formidable opponent on the basketball court. Presents or present? Sentence 7. He seems to forget that there dash things to be done before he can graduate. Is it are or is? He seems to forget that there dash things to be done before he can graduate. Is it are or is? Let's look at the next sentence now. There dash to be some people left in that town after yesterday's flood. Have or is it has? There dash to be some people left in that town after yesterday's flood. Have or has? And the next sentence is, some of the grain dash to be contaminated. Appear or appears? Some of the grain appear to be contaminated, or is it some of the grain appears to be contaminated? Sentence 10. 3/4 of the students dash against the tuition hike. 3/4 of the students dash against the tuition hike. Is it is or are? Sentence 11. 3/4 of the student body dash against the tuition hike. Is or is it are? 3/4 of the student body dash against the tuition hike. Is it is or are? Let's look at the next sentence. A high percentage of the population dash voting for the new school. Is it is or are? A high percentage of the population voting for the new school is or are? The next sentence. A high percentage of the people dash voting for the new school. Was or is it were? I'll repeat the sentence. A high percentage of the people dash voting for the new school. Was or is it were? Now this exercise must be a bit of a challenge to every one of you sitting here. It's good to cross these milestones, and the more you do these exercises, the more confident you will feel about your subject-verb agreement. So let's take a look at the solutions now. Sentence 1. Either the physicians in this hospital or the chief administrator is going to have to make a decision, because we've used either and or. Therefore, we'll consider the subject to be singular. Sentence 2. Is my boss or my sisters in the union going to win this election? Why do you think we've chosen is? Correct, because closest to is my boss, and my boss is singular. Therefore, we use the singular verb is. Sentence 3. Some of the votes seem to have been miscounted. Why seem and why not seems? Because we are referring to some of the votes, and votes are plural. Therefore, it will take up a plural verb, seem. Sentence 4. The tornadoes that tear through this country every spring are more than just a nuisance, because tornadoes are plural, aren't they? Sentence 5. Everyone selected to serve on this jury has to be willing to give a lot of time, because everyone has to be treated as a singular subject. Sentence 6. Kamal, together with her teammates, presents a formidable opponent on the basketball court. Presents because we're talking about Kamal, she's the main subject, and also because we've used together with. And remember, when we use along with, together with, and such conjunctions, we have to precede them or follow them with a verb which is singular, such as presents. Sentence 7. He seems to forget that there are things to be done before he can graduate, because you're talking about things, therefore you have to use are. Sentence 8. There have to be some people. You're referring to people. Therefore, you'll use have. There have to be some people left in that town after yesterday's flood. Sentence 9. Some of the grain appears to be contaminated. Why appears? Because we're talking about some of the grain, and grain is singular. Therefore, we'll use the singular verb appears. Sentence 10. 3/4 of the students are against the tuition hike, because you're referring to the fraction of a plural subject. 3/4 of the students. Therefore, we'll use are. Sentence 11. 3/4 of the student body is against the tuition hike. So can you see the difference? When we've used the subject student body, we consider the subject to be singular, and therefore we take up a singular verb is. Sentence 12. A high percentage of the population is voting for the new school, because we're referring to a percentage of the population, and population will be singular. Sentence 13. A high percentage of the people were voting for the new school. I'm sure you found this activity very useful in getting to know your basics much better. Let's now take a general look at rules for checking subject-verb agreement. Now, when you're trying to see if the subject and the verb agree, try and leave out the parts that you don't require. For example, everyone in the contest want to win. Now, if you look at the sentence, everyone in the contest want to win, does it sound correct? No, it doesn't sound correct, does it? What are we talking about? We're talking about everyone. And is everyone singular or plural? Correct. Everyone is singular. Therefore, we need to use a singular verb. And is want a singular verb? No, we need to say everyone wants to win. So we can remove in the contest and then look at the subject and the verb and then decide what verb should follow which subject. For example, everyone in the contest wants to win. Remember that a very important part of getting it all right is to speak the sentence to yourself loudly. If it doesn't sound right, there is a good chance that it is not right. For example, everyone in the contest want to win. It didn't sound right to you, did it? So that's how you can improve on your subject-verb agreement. Now let's try these. What you have to do is, if the subject and the verb are in agreement, you choose correct. If they are not, you need to choose the word that is the correct answer. So open your workbooks and look at this exercise carefully. Are you ready to get on with this? Okay, let's get going then. The first one is, Rahul, am going to school. And the options are A, correct, B, is, C, was, D, were, and E, does. Rahul, am going to school. Do you think this is correct? Or does it require is, was, were, or does? What's the answer that you've given? Yes, those of you who said is, you're right. Rahul, am going to the school is not correct. It should be Rahul is going to the school. The next sentence is, the students are not reading the book. Is this A, correct? Or does it require B, am, C, is, D, does, and E, was? The students are not reading the book. Do you think this is correct? Or does it require am, is, does, or was? That's right, it is absolutely correct because you're talking about students and these are plural. Therefore, we'll use the students are not reading the book. The next sentence is, she is a good person to be with. She is a good person to be with. Is it A, correct? Does it require B, which is was? Or C, were? D, am? Or E, does? You're right, it's absolutely correct. She is a good person to be with. The next sentence is, everyone are going to the movie. Your options are A, correct, B, were, C, was, D, is, and E, does. Well, if you thought that this sentence doesn't sound right, you're correct. It is not right. It needs to be everyone is going to the movie because everyone should be considered as correct as a singular subject. Next sentence is, none of those girls go to church. The options are A, correct, B, goes, C, are, D, were, and E, does. None of those girls go to church. Do you think this is correct, or does it require goes, or are, were, or does? Yes, this sentence is absolutely correct. See how you've been able to implement so quickly whatever you've learnt into these sentences. You already know how to listen effectively and know which sentence is correct and which one is not. And in case it's not correct, why is it not correct? So let's quickly recap what we've done today. Today we did the remaining rules of the subject-verb agreement. What were the remaining rules? Can we go through them once again? These were, sometimes nouns can fool us into thinking that they're plural, but really they're singular, and vice versa. Words such as glasses, pans, pliers, and scissors should be regarded as plural, and they take up a plural verb, unless of course these are spoken as a pair of pants. Then it should be considered singular. The next rule was, some words end in S and they appear to be plural, but really they're singular and they require singular verbs such as the word news. The news from the front is bad. On the other hand, some words ending in S refer to a single thing, but actually they are plural and they require a plural verb. For example, when we say our thanks go to all the workers, we really are referring to thanks. Therefore, we'll say our thanks go to all the workers. The next rule that you learnt was fractional expressions such as half of, a part of, a percentage of, or a majority of are sometimes singular and at times plural. This depends on the meaning that we wish to convey. For example, we may say a large percentage of the population is not happy with their jobs. That's correct. And we may say a large percentage of people are not happy with their jobs. Can you see how both can be used? Sums and products of mathematical processes are expressed as singular and they require singular verbs. The expression more than one takes a singular verb. For example, more than one student has tried this. Or you may say some of the voters are still angry, because when you're talking of some of, you're talking about some of the voters. Therefore, you'll choose are. 40% of the students are in favor of changing the policy. But if you say 40% of the student body, then you'll say is in favor of changing the policy. The next rule that you learnt was that if your sentence compounds a positive and a negative subject, one is plural and the other is singular, then the verb should agree with the positive subject. For example, the department members, but not the chairman, have decided not to teach on Teachers' Day. So here the negative is not the chairman and the positive subject is department members. Department members is plural, therefore we'll choose have. And you did plenty of exercises today, didn't you? These exercises must have helped you to understand what is the subject, which verb may I use for this subject, is the verb singular or is it plural, and also about the exceptions to the rule. So you must practice a lot, and I must warn you, subject-verb agreement is a crucial part of the English that you speak, and you have to get it right. Now, in order to get it right, there's a lot of hard work that you have to put in. So practice very hard, and I'll see you for your next session. Bye for now.